Okay, y'all. Good morning. Good morning. Good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. It seems like all the time I'm trying to get myself set up. Hold on, y'all. Okay, it's live time. Good morning, y'all. I'm joining y'all live from Paris, where it is no longer. I no longer feel like a rotisserie chicken. Okay, what a difference a few days make. Today temperatures in the I think the low 80s. This is what is normal for Paris. This is normal to be in 100+ degree temperatures, y'all. That's not normal. Let me change my camera orientation. Hold on. That's not normal. And then let me fix my head wrap. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. That's not normal for here. The crazy part about it is because of global warming, we're going to continue to expect these type of temperatures not only in here in Paris, but also in most of Europe. Right. Last week, let me give y'all a recap for those of y'all who may not be aware. It was like 104 degrees, a high of 104 degrees, broke all kind of records, right? All kind of records. Never has it been this hot in the history of record keeping that we're aware of, right? The extreme heat is a public safety issue. Last week, 101, 103, 104. Y'all have to remember, um, it's AC is not here. Okay, the train stations and things. Not even all the trains have air conditioning. They have some quote unquote refrigerated units, but only a handful of all the cars on all the trains have air conditioning. And that's only on a select number of lines, even the newer lines, right? So it just was extremely hot, and I felt like a rotisserie chicken. And I know a lot of people, like, oh, Americans, this, Americans, that. I'm gonna tell you one thing. I moved here. This will be my fifth summer here, and it's been a few hot days. That's to be expected, and you can deal with a few hot days, right? But what you can't deal with, what your body can't deal with, is prolonged heat exposure with no air conditioning. It is a public health and public safety issue, and I stand 10 toes down on that. Okay, but yeah, we've got like literally companies, French companies were opening up their offices so that people could sleep in their air conditioned offices. Okay. You have people sleeping in parks. You have people, well, people don't understand. I'm blessed and fortunate to have a terrace level unit, and the way my building is shaped. It's like a concave building. So it's only what, 2-story building, and it's not that bad. But y'all have to remember there are some people who are on the fifth, sixth, eighth floor. What if you have a high rise? You are literally baking and cooking in your place. A lot of times the temperature is usually about 5 to 10 degrees um, Fahrenheit warmer, and sometimes even more. Right? If you have a high, if you are on a higher level, and you can imagine if your place, if it is 104, what does that feel like for you if you are on a high level apartment? Okay. Some of these apartments are at the very top level. What does that feel like? That's a public health and safety issue. It's a public health and safety issue, y'all. And so, again, what people don't remember, most of us, 100 degrees, okay, a day or two here, no problem. But when it comes to prolonged exposure, that's where the problem comes in. Because now you've got, again, your restaurants and cafes, they're not, they are not usually air conditioned. You got to be, the only air conditioning that I found is like Starbucks, and that's a maybe. Most of them are air conditioned, but it depends on where. And some of the train stations, no, they're not air conditioned. They're in the middle of train stations. Most train stations, like the big ones, the big train stations, are not air conditioned. So you just are in the middle of the heat, right? So your public buildings, a lot of them are not air conditioned. Your stores, your restaurants, all of those things, usually a lot of them don't have air conditioning. Or if they do have them, they're the portable units, the small units. Some of the smaller ones do have air conditioning, but not all have them. So culturally, it's just not the move here. So yeah, we're literally fighting against ourselves. At the same time, the French government is reportedly looking at spending. Now it's a political issue, and now I'm like, okay, we lost the plot. We done lost the whole plot because now these political parties are promising to spend billions of dollars, and I'm like, literally, where y'all got it from? Where is this coming from? Right? Let's not forget the energy comes from Niger. Okay, and they just canceled their agreement. The uranium that's flowing in France that's providing the energy to the power plants comes from Niger. They just canceled that agreement. That's a whole other separate issue. I don't know where the money's going to come from. I don't know where even the energy and power is going to come from. And let me also be clear. Someone on here in a video of mine had mentioned that America, let's be clear, America is the leading contributor to global warming, and that is true. It's also true that that Europe is the fastest growing temperature continent on Earth. This is also true and also fact. But I'm not going to make this like an American versus French issue because, to be honest with you, most Americans we are definitely used to AC. I know living in Atlanta for 15 years, we're used to high humidity, high heat, all of that. But you literally go from your car to your work to your restaurant to whatever you got going on, and it's all air conditioned. Okay, all of it. So it's a totally different comparison. And honestly, it's a public health and public safety issue. Y'all come on in the live, say hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are watching me in the world. But this is a public health and safety issue. And it's not just Europe, even in India, which is known for high temperatures. It is getting so hot there that people are having to migrate. And I want to read from something. Where's my other phone? Hold on, y'all. I want to read from something. I just know last week it took all of my energy to just stay alive. Okay. At a certain point, when it becomes extreme weather temperatures, your body, your brain shifts to keeping you alive. And that's kind of where were last week. I'm still tired. I am still exhausted. And it's because of the temperatures from last week. But I want to read this to y'all. But it was so hot that again, people were sleeping on the grass at night. They could not stay in a lot of their apartments. Again, I'm lucky and blessed that I was able to get some sleep. I have a loft, so I actually slept downstairs those nights. And so it wasn't that bad. I'm trying to find the photo I'm looking for y'all to bring up. It wasn't that bad. But I want to remind y'all that this also isn't anything new. Hello, Keep It Moving International. How are you? Yeah. According to, and I don't have the name of the person on the Facebook post. I apologize for that, but they quoted this from an article, but I'm not sure exactly where it came from. But they're talking about um, let's not also not act like isn't this is not new. So in 2003, like 20,000 people died in France. I don't know how many died across Europe, but a lot of people died in 2003. That was y'all almost 25 years ago. So I don't know who's been asleep at the wheel since then. This is not new. People unfortunately died, and people also died this time around. There were at least a couple hundred deaths that were reported because of the heat, I believe, and at least like 45 were because of drowning. People were literally trying to um, get relief from the heat. But this article that I'm reading, apparently, again, we're not new to this. And in 1877, there was the El Nino. Way back in 1877, y'all. It triggered global droughts and famines that killed 30 to 60 million people, about 3% of the world's population at that time. Researchers at the European Commission's Joint Research Center warned that El Nino, this time around, and yes, we do have global warming. I don't know what was going on in 1877, but I don't believe that the global warming was an issue back then, as much as it is now. But it's saying that this one is going to be even worse, and it's going to be systemic impacts, shocks to agriculture, water supplies, electricity, transport, food prices, and inflation, right? And it's going to be the worst. It's expected to be the worst in 2027, in a couple years. If this was worst, I don't know. If this was bad, I don't know what it is. Now keep it moving in abroad, keeping it moving international. I'm not going to say Most High judgment is here. I'm not even going to say that. I'm not going to make this a religious issue because we see 200 years ago. Not 200 years ago, in 1877, was that a religious issue then too? Because millions of people died then. It does seem like that every so often there is a reset, whether it's COVID or whatever you want to call it. But I don't myself and me myself, I don't believe that. I don't believe in a God that is punitive in that fashion. Some of this is quote unquote cyclical, and some of this is the fault of global warming, which that's a broader political issue. Okay. I don't me myself, I don't look at it as being a judgment issue. Whenever things happen, people are quick to say that, and I do not believe in that. Um Sometimes bad stuff happens. It just does. And you want to be on the right side of it, but sometimes bad things happen. We've seen hurricanes, we've seen mudslides, we've seen tornadoes, we've seen earthquakes. Sometimes in the weather, bad things just happen. It's I don't believe it's a spirituality issue, a God issue, or anything else. But bad things do happen. Do we try to explain it? Yes, we do. But sometimes bad things happen. So at this point, I'm just trying to like live my life, right? I think we're all trying to live our lives. And with it being so hot here, again, this is a global warming issue. It's a public health and public safety issue. People were passing out, falling out on the street. It was hot not only it was hot in France, throughout Paris, beyond. It was hot in Italy. It was hot in Germany. It was hot in Sweden. It was hot in Switzerland. It was hot in Turkey. It was hot in various countries within the EU. And again, depending upon where you are, you may be able to get relief and you may not. Here in Paris specifically, has definitely been an anti AC approach. That's where the problem comes in, the challenge comes in. That's part of the challenge. It's where that challenge comes in because how do you get relief if you don't have an AC? And the power grid went out. Y'all realize that there was such a constraint on the electrical lines that some electrical lines went out. So you mean to tell me you're in 104-degree temperatures, you have no fans, your lights are out. So how do you cool off? Elderly people and babies are the most at risk when it comes to weather like this because their bodies cannot self-regulate. So just like 2003 when tens of thousands died, it's going to be the same thing again. And rest in peace to all of those, unfortunately, who lost their lives due to this weather. I feel like a lot of these the deaths were preventable. Um, there was a young football player, 21-year-old kid, who passed away. I don't know what to say to anybody who lost their child that way or lost their loved one that way. What I can say is that some of these deaths were preventable. You should not be unalived due to the heat if it can be helped. So now again, we're in a position to where now you've got the far right and far left who are weighing in. The far right is like, oh, we're going to spend billions. We support spending billions to add AC. They're spending billions. Supposedly, like $100 million has been, uh, you know, commissioned for immediate relief. There are not cooling centers necessarily that I'm aware of. I could be wrong, but it was so hot, y'all. It was so hot that again, French companies were inviting people to sleep in their offices to get relief from the heat. People were outside literally sleeping on the grass to get relief from the heat. That's not really relief. If it was over 100 degrees at night at one point, like in the 90s, that's not relief. But it is if you are in a sweltering hot box of an apartment. It's not set up. It is physically not set up. So that's kind of what we're dealing with. Again, this is a larger issue than just someone just complaining about AC. Because normally, you have a couple days, right? I'm sorry, y'all. You have a couple days, got stuff in my eye. You have a couple days of where it is hot, but we can deal with that. But when you got day to day and back to back to back, that's when it gets to be overwhelming. I rode the train for 3 hours last week. I rode a line that's near my house for 3 hours. It's one of the few lines that all the trains have some level of air conditioning, right? Of cooling. I rode that train for 3 hours just to get relief. I could not work last week. I went to the cafe. There's an air conditioned cafe near me. But guess what? Everybody had the same idea. So it's like it affects productivity. It affects people on people. We're all hot, irritated. A lot of things can happen. A lot of things can happen real, real quickly. So it's a public health and public safety issue. So yeah, this week will be better. It's going to be hot again in the next couple of weeks. And a lot of people may say, well, I just order air conditioner. Good luck with that. It's a 3 to 6 month wait on Amazon with some units. Okay. Good luck with that. At this point, even my small apartment, I wonder if it can handle the power load that I would need to have a big unit. There are units that you can get that work with ice and water. I don't know how effective those are. I'm looking at those online and I don't know how effective they are. Like I said, I'm still tired just from last week. The heat is exhausting. It is exhausting. So it's, time to go old school. I got some great tips here in this community. Things like submerging my feet in ice water. Ice is hard to get. I need to get an ice machine. I need to buy a personal. I have two fans here, thankfully, but I want to get one of the personal fans. So when I'm out and about, I need to look at where I can get an air conditioning unit. It was so hot last week. I didn't even want to go out to check the stores because that's what people were saying. Folks were saying, well, you need to go check the stores, but you have to actually go out to check the stores to see if you can get an air conditioning unit. And it was so hot last week that nobody wanted to do any of that. So yeah, very, very hot. And I don't want to make like it's only Europe, y'all. It's coming for everybody. Like these temperatures, even in my hometown, even in Detroit, it was like 70 degrees in January. That never happens. Like that's global warming. That's all that is. You're seeing more historic weather events, whether it's hurricanes, tornadoes. You're seeing more historic weather events in places like California, Florida, Texas. It's every Louisiana. It's everywhere. It is indeed everywhere. So it's kind of like I feel like, yeah, got to put your big girl panties on with AC because yeah, it just was a lot here. It was a lot here last week. So y'all pray for my strength, okay? Because yeah, and a fan. Where my fans at? Because definitely needed them last week. Like I said, I'm still tired, still a bit exhausted, but it feels so much better. I swear, oh my goodness, it feels so much better. I do have a small fan going. Actually, I turned this off. Let me turn this back on. Um, I have a small fan going. It's comfortable. It is a breeze. I'm grateful for the breeze, y'all. Grateful for the breeze. Let me plug my fan in. But it feels so much better today. But again, it's gonna be super hot again in the next couple of weeks. So this is an issue we're gonna keep dealing with. Just put my fan back on. We're gonna have to keep dealing with this issue, y'all. So pray for the fans. We gonna be okay. But yeah, it's gonna be a hot one in the next couple weeks. So we have to get ready to do all this all over again. I'm gonna try to get prepared so that I'm ready. Because this one caught me off guard. You won't catch me slipping again. No, ma'am. No, sir. Will not catch me slipping again. So I'm gonna be ready for the next time this thing comes about. And ready, unfortunately, I'm able to escape some of the heat by if I have to, I can go fly home to Atlanta. Okay? Everybody can't do that. And I recognize the privilege in that. Not everyone can do that. Not everyone can just fly to a place with air conditioning or fly to a cooler place. They've got to deal with what they have to deal with. And also remember too, the way that these homes are built, the infrastructure is not set up. Most of the homes here are built to keep in heat because it historically has been colder. It has that they are not built to distribute the heat. Especially if you were in, imagine if you were in a stone home. I mean, if you're in a stone home, you might be cooler. But if you're in an older building, a houseman style building, baby, you about to bake. You about to be like a rotisserie at Costco. Okay, that's just how it's gonna be. So it is getting easier, but y'all, it's still is if the heat warm if it warms if the weather temperatures are accurate that I saw over the weekend for July, it's going to get hotter and hotter. It's going to be like a week to 10 days of unrelenting temperatures. So we are not out of it yet. We're not out of it yet. So I'm gonna get ready to get off of here though, y'all. Thank y'all for joining. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Like I said, pray for my AC, pray for my coolness, pray I can find the AC. Okay. Because I need something that can work with all this heat. I'll talk to y'all later.